Howdy folks, this is Dan Gross, the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight and Three Heads Brewing. 2018 was an incredible year for Three Heads and its Rochester residents. Our 12 residents for 2018, now I'm going to read just to make sure I don't miss anybody. Fran Broderick, Charlie Lindner, Zach Lejeski, Chris English, Kurt Johnson, Adrian D'Angelo, Eli Flynn, James Searle, Matt Rammerman, Sam Snyder, Will McKenna, and Brian McDonald all brought it to the brewery. Original music, regional and international guests, jam sessions, intimate acoustic nights, and huge tribute shows. Also, quick note, I am working on the rest of those recap videos. They will be out eventually at some point. With that in mind, we couldn't have picked a better person to kick off 2019 than Ben Rossi. He is the Rochester resident for January 2019, playing a different concert each Thursday. Ben is a multi-instrumentalist and singer, and a very familiar face to the regulars here at the brewery. And he's a pretty cool dude as well. Dude,
thank you.
Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Let's start off nice and easy. Are you a Rochester native?
I am born and raised in Hilton.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we have another Genesee Hospital shout out? Because we've had a couple of those. No, but you're in Hilton.
No, Rochester General.
This is like a running bit on the Spotlight. Everyone tells us what hospital they were born in. So why don't you tell us about growing up? What were some of your musical influences?
Sure. So I didn't really get into the music that I listen to now until I was like in, usual 8th, 9th grade. Mm-hmm. My brother was in a garage band that actually practiced in our garage, and I wasn't really allowed to listen, so I'd sit next to the door, and once I heard Pearl Jam 10, that was like the beginning of the end. That's all I knew I wanted to play was, guitar going forward after that. So it's Pearl Jam 10 was like the door that, the album that opened the door, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And when did you start actually playing guitar?
I was 14 when I stared playing. Mm-hmm. Went and got an electric guitar from Stutzman's. Mm-hmm.
And how did your parents take that when you came home with an electric guitar?
They didn't like it when it was loud.
Really? I couldn't possibly imagine.
And I didn't take lessons for a while, so I just learned the same 3 songs over and over, which must have been terrible for them. But eventually I took lessons, and yeah.
Cool. And
went from there.
And now you're ripping it on stage here at Three Heads Brewing.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have met these guys and this awesome scene that we have in Rochester. Everyone you just mentioned before, I mean, I try to go to every resident show. I think I usually hit about 3 to 4, 3 out of the 4. So they're all just amazing people, and the scene here is really cooperative as well. Yeah,
so we'll backtrack. We're going to backtrack a little bit. Tell us about the first band you were in.
So the first band I was in college. It was called Doc Norris. It was a Geneseo. I went to Geneseo. Mm-hmm. We actually played quite a few shows. We had a couple CDs worth of originals. We played all throughout New York State, went down to the city. And that was like my first foray into music. My guitar teacher at the time, Tony Cavanero, was the guitar player for the Buddhahood. He's since passed away, but he was a good friend of mine, and he got us to play from Geneseo to come up here and play at Water Street, which was my first time playing at a real music venue, not a bar, not on the floor, on an actual stage. And ever since then, that just kind of opened the doors with all the other music venues in town to kind of get my foot in the door that way.
What was that first experience like?
It was pretty incredible. I couldn't believe that we were playing on a real stage in front of people we haven't met before and not a drunk college crowd.
That's a nice step up.
Yeah, it was a really cool step up. So after that was kind of like, what to shoot for.
Right. And since then, you've been playing in a bunch of different bands. Why don't you tell us the bands that you're in now?
Sure. So the band I've been in longest, my pride and joy is Friday in America. My good friend Fran Broderick, who had the residency earlier this year, him and I started that about 10 years ago.
Wow.
So we just had our 10-year anniversary show in September. He has a solo band project that I'm also very happy to be in. I actually play keyboards and synthesizer and accordion in that band, and that's called Left-Handed Second Baseman. And then in a band called Extended Family with none other than Jeff Dale and Todd from Three Heads.
Exactly.
And those are my 3 main projects, and those keep me pretty busy, as you can imagine.
I can. In addition to rehearsals, it's practice time, too.
Yeah, practice time. There's a lot of practice time.
There's a lot of practice time. Tell us about how you found the sound of those bands, because obviously those are a little different than the Pearl Jam you mentioned when you were in 8th or 9th grade.
Right. When Fran and I started Friday in America, it was really from the ground up, and we've since molded our sound and also become a lot better musicians along the way. joining left-handed second baseman in extended family as a keyboardist, I've only been playing piano for a year. So that was very interesting. So I'm just trying to be more of a role player in that scenario, in finding a sound and not stepping on other people's sounds, and serving the song more than, always doing lead guitar or writing the song, because I don't write in any of those two bands. So it's a completely different shift of where I'm at musically.
I was going to say, that's a nice role to be in. I remember I was a music major in college, and I was always leading my own project, and the very first time someone asked me to just accompany someone, it was just like, it's nice.
It's kind of nice. There's that weight off your shoulders that you don't really have to worry about that.
Right.
It's not like you're not going to do as good of a job. You just don't have to worry about that.
Right, you don't have to worry about literally everything else. You can just get up there and play.
Yes, exactly. You show up and play.
And it's very nice.
Yeah.
Well, you've just about answered everything I had, so let's just go down the line and talk about. You actually have 5 Thursday shows, which is very exciting.
Yep, it's a long month, so we get an extra Thursday. Lucky for me.
I was going to say, you sound very excited about it.
So a friend of mine, when I told him we had 5 shows, he said, "You're an idiot if you don't just do all 5." I was like, "Sure, I'll just do the 5th one," and it is a lot of it's a lot of work to do that 5th one.
Exactly, but I mean 4 is a lot of work as well. But adding that 5th one, it seems to be the tipping point. But week 1, Ben Rossi and Friends. Tell us about that.
So I'm going to bring it back to where I started playing guitar. It was basically acoustic at open mic. So I'm going to have several guests throughout the night. Fran Broderick, who I mentioned before. A really good friend of mine, Jackson Rick, who is in a band called the Filthy McNasties. He has not sang out for a while, so he is making a point to come out and sing some songs with me.
Exciting.
And then Jeff Dale from Three Heads, I think Three Heads is the name of the brewery. He'll be out there that first night as well, singing some songs with me. So it'll be the 4 of us, just kind of more intimate setting.
Perfect. We've had a lot of those shows, and they're always cool because you get the nice contrast from like the giant shows where it's sold out and it's just raging in your face, and
it's going to be nice to dial it down for a night and have a little more relaxed atmosphere.
Exactly. Now, next after that, you have Friday America. You touched on that a little bit, but why don't you tell us everyone who's in the band and tell us about the set you're going to be playing?
Sure. So we have, when we're at our fullest, we're at a 5-piece, but we also play a lot with a horn guy as well as a DJ. So at least 7 of us will be there. Our keyboard player lives in Syracuse, so he comes out. We only play about 3 or 4 times a year. He's making the trip out. Our DJ, DJ Naps, is going to be there. We do a lot of hip hop songs and stuff like that, so he'll be on that. And then I believe we have Dan Murky on saxophone. He plays with a ton of these bands around here. And then on bass, we have Dan Carter, who used to be in Mrs. Scanato, and also my college band, ironically enough. So I've been playing music with him and Shane for the last 20 years.
Wow.
And then we have Greg Detweiler's on drums for Friday in America.
Very exciting. I think you've covered everybody. Next show, Extended Family. We've actually featured Extended Family here on the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight. They did a really cool set late last year, and I got a chance to sit down with Jeff in his living room, so we touched on them a little bit. But why don't you tell us about X-Fam from your own perspective?
My own perspective, one of the funnest bands I've ever played in. We just have a blast every single practice. Again, we don't play out, it's more similar to Friday in America. We play out 3-4 times a year. We try to make each one of those shows as big and as best as possible. But we have a lot of fun at band practice, and it's a lot of fun. So we're going to do that, and that features Jeff and Todd from Three Heads, as well as Rick on guitar, and then our friend Allison is the singer, and Trevor Holly is a guitar player as well.
Very exciting. I think we got everyone there. Are we missing somebody? We're missing a drummer. Can you tell me who the drummer is?
I don't think we're missing him.
We don't think we're missing him at all?
It's Jeff Woodruff. He goes by Woody.
Woody!
I suppose we could talk about him.
Woody, you are such a good sport. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, and speaking of sports, that's your next week. Tell us about that.
So this is one that I'm super pumped with because I'm. I don't want to say closeted. I'm certainly not closeted 80s fan. I love the 80s music. I love 80s rock. So I have been listening to sports on record for whatever reason for the last couple of years. When I got this opportunity, my friend Fran was like, "I know what record you're going to pick," and I hadn't decided yet. And I'm like, "Well, just tell me." And he's like, "Sports," and I was like, "That's the one." So I have been lucky enough to put together an 11-piece band for this, complete with a 3-piece horn section, harmonica, several people I've never met before our first practice, and we have been doing really well at practice, and it's going to be a very upbeat, fun show. And it's the 35th anniversary of sports, and we have a few special encore songs we're going to do as well.
Okay. Why does that album speak to you?
I mean, I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. Huey Lewis is prominently featured in Back to the Future, so that's probably reason one. As a kid, I would, put on air guitar shows of playing Back to the Future.
Makes sense.
So to combine that and then really diving into the album, I actually really like it, and it's got a lot of awesome 80s sounds, especially on the synth.
Right.
I'm just a sucker for that stuff. I love it. And the band that we have is so tight, and the cool thing about these residencies is everyone, they're not just showing up playing the notes. They really dive into it. They really have fun. So we've only had 2 practices, but our second one, we're all just very, very into it.
Perfect.
And it's really fun to nerd out on that.
And we won't tell you when we're filming this, so we can. You can imagine how many practices we'll have before the final show. Why don't you just list down everyone in the band for me, if you could?
Oh, this is a tall order. So we have Zach Mendoza on drums, who is also the drummer for Left-Handed Second Baseman. Greg Detweiler, who is the drummer for Friday in America, he's playing percussion. We have 3 sax players. Tim Hall, who I just met, Dan Murky. Sorry, there's 2 sax players, those 2 guys, and then Justin Lloyd plays trumpet. He's in the Medicinals, Mrs. Scanato. Taylor, whom I just met, is on keyboards and synth. Dan Carter, who I've been playing with for a while, is on bass. John Sheffer is on guitar, and I've been having a blast playing guitar with him. I've wanted to play with him on stage for a long time. Dan Murky's dad, Mr. Murky, I suppose. We have not practiced together yet. He's our harmonica player.
Okay.
And then none other than my good friend Matt Stevens on lead vocals.
That's going to be a really fun show.
Yeah, it's really nice playing with someone who's just dedicated to lead singing, and he's also he's a phenomenal band leader as well.
Yeah, so it's a nice combination of like previous residents and some new faces as well. That's pretty cool. And the last week number 5, you have something special planned. Tell us about that.
I do. So I've been wanting to do a solo band project for quite some time. I actually had a gig scheduled here this time last year, but it fell apart. It's tough playing with musicians who are in multiple bands who have day jobs. So I'm doing a set called Waiting for the Moon, which is about 6 or 7 original songs I have written. And I put together a really cool 4-piece band for that, and play one set of that. After that, we're going to transition to some Johnny Cash tunes.
Perfect.
The funny thing about that is 2 of the guys I'd asked to play, I only met through the residency. 2 of the gentlemen played on Eat a Peach when Kurt did his residency. Matt Bevan Perkins was the second drummer when Rammerman was drumming. And then Eric Carlin was the second guitar player, who's Kurt's good buddy. So I reached out to them, and magically they said, yes, we'd love to come support you. And our friend, Friday in America played with Rochester a lot. We have a lot of friends who overlap. So Ben Overmeyer, the bass player from Rochester, who's an absolute monster, is playing bass. So the 4 of us are doing this, and it's really fun. We've had 1 practice so far to kind of get acquainted with each other and stuff, and it's great.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun. One last reminder, we're not going to tell you when we film this, so you can imagine how many practices they've
Just
had.
1 before the show, that's it. That was it.
That's right, we're filming this right before the show. Okay, let's just go down the weeks one more time to make sure you have them. Ben Rossi and Friends is week 1. Friday in America is week 2. Extended Family is week 3. The 35th anniversary of sports is week number 4. Week 5. Oh gosh, Waiting for the Moon and a Johnny Cash set as well. One more time, I'm Dan Gross, sitting with the Rochester resident for January 2019, Ben Rossi. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you every Thursday at Three Heads Brewing.
Been so long since I've shouted out, let you scream and then I drowned you out. Take all the air stored inside, Take a deep breath, how do we feel now? The date starts to crumble as I watch in vain. From a nearby seat on a nearby plane, we crash and burn, think down way. Taking this food here from off my plate. There's a body washed on the shore. You took a bite out, then you asked me for more, more. A couple years older and I thought I was yours. Give and you take, then you ask for more. Now you know that I found you out. Step from the dark and into the light. Some things are a mystery, I tend to focus. Don't have all the answers I want just yet. There's a body washed on the shore. Took a bite out, then you ask for more. A couple years older and I thought I was yours. I give and you take, then you ask me for more. Body washed on the shore. Took a bite out, then you ask for more. A couple years older and I thought I was yours. I give and you take, then you ask me for more.